Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who has joined us today live or watching this session recording later. My name is Prashant and I'm one of the members of the organizing team for this bootcamp. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, Salesforce Marketers Group Singapore is super excited to organize the biggest Salesforce Marketing Cloud Bootcamp program in the region. The plan for this bootcamp is to cover 65 plus sessions on a wide variety of topics various Salesforce Marketing Cloud products. Present these topics, we have invited some of the leading industry experts from the globe. A very big thank you to one and all who are part of this wonderful Trailblazer community. Few housekeeping rules. For any questions during the session, please feel free to use the chat box. We will answer them during the session itself. For any sessions post the questions post the session, please use the short link shown on the screen or scan the QR code. This will take you to a Google form where you can drop in your questions and we can get back to you with the answer later. All the sessions are recorded and uploaded on your YouTube channel. So to access them, please use the short link shown on the screen or scan the QR code. Okay. Lastly, to sign up for all the upcoming sessions for this bootcamp, please visit our Trailblazer community page by using the short link or scanning the QR code. So today's agenda for the session would be we'll go through the introductions and then we will have data cloud pricing, implementation overview and architecture. And then we'll have resources and Q&A as well. For this session, we are not having any quiz today. A shout out to the wonderful organizing team members who put in great effort for setting up these bootcamp sessions so that the Salesforce Trailblazer community can get access to the quality learning. So Abhishek Nagar, Salesforce Marketing Cloud Technical Lead, Vishal Chawla, Salesforce Marketing Cloud Solution Architect. So I'm Prashant Vardhan, I'm a Salesforce Technical Lead, and Fanindra Arikchetta, Chief Technology Evangelist and Salesforce MVP. So we have our Salesforce MVPs for 2023 declared. So congratulations to our 2023 Salesforce MVP. And we are fortunate to have Fanindra to be recognized as one of the Salesforce MVPs. Congratulations, Fanindra, for for naming as Salesforce MVP for 2023. Over to you, Fanindra.
Thank you, Prashant. I think it's such a wonderful feeling, definitely for sure, to become a Salesforce MVP for 2023. And of course, without you people, I couldn't be able to deserve all this because we're all in the same community. We're all working with Ohana. This increased our responsibilities to dedicatedly support all our trailblazers to become a successful trailblazers in our ecosystem. Once again, thank you for all your wishes. I've seen a lot of people wishing in LinkedIn and different social channels. We're really glad to be part of this and honored to be MVP in this year. We'd love to have the same passion and enthusiasm for the next couple of years in the same ecosystem. Thank you. So coming to our session, I'll share my screen and I'll go through my topic. Hope you can able to see my screen, right? Can you see my screen, Prashant? Can someone confirm me? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Fanindra.
All right, thank you. So I'll go through the topic. All right, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining with us today. Today our topic Salesforce Data Cloud Implementation Overview, Editions and Pricing, as well as an architecture. I'm pretty sure today is a session which everyone understands the depth of a core platforms called a Salesforce Data Cloud. And you will really amaze what are all the efforts that an architecture put together to become this product is up and running. And you will understand some clear, quite depth of entire each and every functionality of Data Cloud. What are all the behind sceneries and the behind movie which is going on with the Data Cloud. So it's really good session for sure. And I believe you all will learn something today and you can take back with an ample amount of knowledge on the session. As Prashant said, so coming to my introduction, myself, Ainira, I'm a CTO on the Salesforce MVP. I'm an enterprise architect. I'm a group leader for managing multiple groups in Singapore. I'm 37X certified, and I'll continuously keep learning myself and grow up in the career with the Salesforce ecosystem and other cloud platforms as well. Everyone need to understand one pointer where, that's why I've kept as a red color small icon over here. As you're already aware of it, as of Feb 14th, customer data platform, which is nothing but a CDP, is now calling as a Salesforce Data Cloud. So you will may see that during this transition, you may see some differences to customer data platform, which is nothing but you see some documentation of Salesforce. Sometimes you see Genie, sometimes customer data cloud, customer 360 audiences, and Salesforce CDP. So these are all the old names of for data cloud, and don't worry about it. So I think Salesforce is taking care of to update the new names everywhere. But it'll take some time, of course, right? Because it'll take some time, and you can expect to see the previous name in a few places as we evolve. But don't worry about it. Now the customer data platform CDP is nothing but a data cloud, and it evolve in a different key competencies for other clouds that we will talk about in later as well, right? So you understand one pointer where I think there are some folks who joined recently with the session, and there are folks who want to understand what is data cloud, right? So the data cloud is a real-time platform for a customer magic. So this is the entire Salesforce platform. This entire product has been built on the core Salesforce platform with an underlying architecture of a metadata-driven architecture along with the data lake architecture. And it has a vast capabilities that brings together an ample amount of data, millions of trillions of records into the single platform, and that powers the beauty of the real-time data to the entire customer 360, and it will create your magic of single view of the customer across any clouds. So what it does is it'll collect all your data from a different source of systems, and then it'll harmonize all the data into a single customer graph, and it empower every team at your organization with unified customer profiles. The profile gives everyone they need to know about your customer as they interact with your business. There are different touch points where you can ingest the data into system, and with this data you could harmonize it, and then you could provide some real-time insights, and you could let the feel of sales service people sits on your core platform called Sales Service Cloud, and then you can do some magic, right? So all of this can be happening in one platform to make it easy for you to deliver magical customer experience at scale. So this is what the beauty of the platform, and behind the scenes of every data platform that what you're seeing it, you will definitely amaze today seeing that, wow, this many systems are involving to create a seamless experience for a customer to work with a magical customer experience, right? So first topic today, we have agenda for 3 topics. One topic is additions and risings of data cloud. Number 2, we have a data cloud implementation overview. People need to understand how we can implement and start developing a CDP solution. And finally, we would love to talk about an architecture, the people, the systems who behind to make this data cloud up and running, and that brings you all together with your with the complete technical capabilities of AWS. So today you will understand and learn something about AWS as well, because our data cloud is completely sitting on data cloud, completely sitting on AWS. It means like your half of the services are sitting on AWS, your half of the service sitting in your Salesforce services. But we'll talk about more on and down the line. So let's go through our additions and pricing. I think, as I said initially, so you see still the name of the customer data platform somewhere. Still in the pricing page, it doesn't change. I've just take the picture of the pricing of the marketing cloud customer data platform, which is nothing but a data cloud. So this data cloud, as you know, aware of it, it will captures marketers, enablers, which will unify the data, segmentize the data, and activate all your customers' data to make a unified profile that nothing but your source of truth for every customer to help the personalized experience across marketing, commerce, sales, service, and many more products. So we have essentially 3 editions in Salesforce Data Cloud. One with corporate, which gives a mid-size size business folks, and price, which help you for large-scale organization to unify, segment, and activate all your data. Enterprise Plus, which is like big enterprise companies, right? So the cost which comes around like corporate, 12,500 USD per month. It's not per year, it's a per month billed annually. How expensive the tool is. At the same time, it gives a lot of maturity for an enterprise companies to and medium-sized business as well. And for enterprise, 50,000 USD per month. And for enterprise plus, it should be 65,000 USD per month. It's of course, it's costly. But with the cost of what they're providing is, once you see at the end, you believe, I think this cost is this cost serves for the tool, right? So you can see all the magic down the line. So with this, I think you have some sort of things that you would like to see about it, right? So if I can go back with my editions and pricings page, look at this. So this, we have a different pricings, as I said, for different editions. So with each and every edition, there are different features are available. If you look at the how many number of unified profiles you could organize or orchestrate. So for a corporate, 45,000, 500,000, 500,000 for different editions. Super messages, which you can leverage inside your SMS, MMS in Marketing Cloud, which you leverage 10 million and 150 million, 150 million, because there is a criteria where they're going to change it from assumptions where this is going to be, as an add-on for going forward with the Data Cloud, because now Data Cloud has a two kind of solutions, one with Data Cloud with marketers. If you talk about marketers, they could use this package. If they talk about Data Cloud for a W, so they could add one more license called W here. There are two products which are going for Data Cloud, and sometimes where marketers doesn't need Marketing Cloud, where they want to use Data Cloud is only for unifying their entire systems of data and design so a single source of truth. So in that case, I think you don't require super messages also. So they'll come up with the different kind of models, but this is old additions and features that what Data Cloud will provide, but it may comes with different kind of pricings altogether. Right. So this is what our pricing and editions available in Data Cloud. So we'll go back to the presentation. So it goes to the next step. We have methodology. Ideally, when I'm calling as methodology, ideally is the implementation overview, where every sales, every internal functional teams who would like to go through discovery and design. So in terms of our implementation overview, we'll talk about the methodology of implementation, project timelines and steps, team structure, recommended stuff, the recommended scope. So when we coming up with a recommended approach, so the discovery and design phase. So what are all the initial steps that every discovery person or a functional team, the functional architects or technical architects would love to do it. So Data Cloud is a combination of different activities which you can do. Segmentized audiences, and then you could define the different number of attributes you would like to ingest the data from source systems. So number one would be you can identify initial segments and audiences to be built. You should align customer experiences that would be enabled and what business impact is driven through use cases. So number one point is we ask the customer why you need a Data Cloud. So you're positioning a Data Cloud, of course, is a good idea for a customer. But you need to understand use cases before you position the Data Cloud. At the same time, you need to understand the vast experience of the customer's behavior across all their touch points, across all the source systems. We need to ask all the use cases. So what kind of use cases you're solving with this Data Cloud tool? What are all the primary benefits that you're getting it? What is your revenue of interest that you're generating with this tool? What is ACV? What is your average total cost that you're going to bring together with your product entity versus your revenues of company that what you're generating for? So these are all the things which I would love to ask the customer to get the information. Once it's done, so ideally you should talk to the IT teams to collate the necessary attributes required for the segmentation. So you need to bring down what are all the systems. You need to ask what all the systems you would like to bring the data in. After the system stock, you should ask inside the system stock, what are all the database tables? What are all the objects and the attributes that you would like to design for doing a segmentation? And you should always align with your canonical information model, which is CIM, the typical Data Cloud CIM model, which I'll showcase and demo. And with this, you should identify what are all the potential gaps and the design considerations you should leverage to extend the data model. That's really important. So as a functional architect or technical architects that should be involved with this kind of discovery and design. They are the key folks where they have to go and then identify the potential attributes which supports the CIM model that identify the gaps in design. Once it's done, I think the number one is data audit. So the data audit is the one which we're calling as how many number of data sources are required fields, what are all the required feeds, what are all the existing data relationships to be done. Is there anything that we should build a new integration as a part of this establishment? And once we done the couple of few exercises of source data, orchestration, data modeling, and attribute mapping. So the next step would be to identify the profile strategy. Now you have clarify all the data points that you need to be consolidated into the unified profile. And you should believe and understand what are the hierarchical order of resolution and the reconciliation rules, because you get the plenty of chunk data inside your system. And you are the person, the data aware specialist or a data specialist. So you are the one who has to design the unified profiles with the bunch of identity resolution rule sets. And you have plenty of resolution rule sets and identity rule sets available in CDP Data Cloud, which you could use a complete fuzzy rules and the reconciliation rules to mix up all the millions of records and then bring the system of truth required. So once we have the system of truth records, so ideally on top of the system of truth records, let's imagine we have 1,000 customers who comes from different source of systems. Out of 1,000, I got 200 of the unified profiles. I use my identity rules, reconciliation rules, design sets, and everything. And I got out of 1,000 profiles, I got 200 are my unified profiles. Out of 200, so I'm going to bring down a little bit more of essentialness, which is nothing but a calculated insights. So you can use this calculated insights that address the segmentation and activation requirements, because those 200 may or may not be a may or may not be a perfect audience for you to target in your marketing cloud. So out of those 200, maybe you can find out the ACV score, your lifetime value, or you can bring out the top customers who have a greater loyalty. You can bring the customers who has most number of visits, most number of preferred calculation metrics. So out of those 200, you can still have an ability, the flexibility to bring out the value of those customers to target your personalization. So out of 200, using these insights and all, you get another 100. You'll break down 200 to 100, and then those 200 are your assets. Those 100, you can bring them into marketing cloud. So those are all your value. You can clarify KPIs for those use cases. Once you get this use case, once you get this audience, you can bring them into marketing cloud, and then you can just put them into the journeys and then put them into the different personalization activities, and then you could just increase your growth of potential. Once you've done all this unifying profiles and segmentations, activations, we have value addition. Finally, that's what the businesses look for. The stakeholder who are upper in the management, he always have a glance on what level of KPIs that these system and the tool has been giving me. At the final output, the stakeholders will see the final output. He spent on millions of dollars. Do you want to see the output? That output, I could see this tool has been connecting with Tableau, and then this Tableau will have to help you out for complete operational reporting that provides the different recommendations using Einstein for your revenue generation that measures and gaining your audience insights. So that's the overall picture that what you think about it and think through it for doing a discovery and design. When it comes to the project timelines, so you have different variations of projects, which is different states of customer readiness. So the biggest question, when you come in with the data cloud, now data cloud has a big picture. So the data cloud, which comes with different kind of things. So this is your data cloud, right? This is your data cloud. So I'm leveraging data cloud is for my complete a kind of a data warehouse solutions, a zero copy policy data warehouse solution. And some customers, I would like to leverage my CDP, my data cloud as my marketers tool, or I would like to leverage data cloud as my analytics tool. You can integrate with Tableau, right? So different kind of problem that data cloud has been solving for. Initially, data cloud has been designed in such a way that can be used for the marketers. It is the only one we have for initial stages, the last 1 year or something. Now this has been enlarged, and then it should be extended until for people who want to leverage as a data warehouse. You could just use it for a data warehouse. You could bring the millions of brilliance of trillions of records into your data cloud platform, and you could unify, segmentized, and then you could just use that segmentized data for multiple things. You could use this data for a sales cloud, service cloud, and field service cloud. For a B2C commerce cloud, you can do plenty of things. At the same time, You could use the same data cloud for W for building a great, the great metrics. This W you can use inside your Einstein and insights and plenty of things. So this is the data cloud that can be solved different kind of use cases. Initially, this is what we have, but for now we have another 2 layers have been added. That's where initially we have a name called customer data platform or customer data platform for Genie. Now this is completely a pure real-time customer data platform that you can serve for your 2 kind of systems. The same data will target and go back to your sales service cloud. You can use for B2C commerce cloud, use it for your loyalty cloud, right? So these insights, these complete insights, you could just use the connectors to bring down to different clouds and make the most value addition for across all your customer touch points, so that people will understand what are all the benefits that I can bring down together for a best customer 360 experience, right? So here we have 2 with the existing slides we have. So we have 2 customers, one customer who has an establishment marketing cloud edition. So here we have a 2 kind of editions, one with, look at the data cloud. So this data cloud, now we can think about it. So the person wanted to start with the data cloud. So the real value comes with, as a marketer, I want to use this data for targeting for the personalization of different kind of social channels. So with this kind of a concept, you purchase the data cloud, and additionally you can purchase your marketing cloud, MC. So there are customers who already have a marketing cloud. So this marketing cloud is the customer which is new to marketing cloud. This marketing cloud, the customer which is existing MC, the existing marketing cloud user. And if you consider this scenario, so you can purchase this as a kind of a one bundle where customers will ask, this is one implementation. They would like to go and then start with, we want to do this as one implementation, because you have to set up the marketing cloud first, and then you have to set up everything that what marketing cloud the marketers requires, and then connecting with data cloud. There's one more called the number 2. So the customer already have a marketing cloud. They're already in the system for the last 4 or 5 years. Now they bring a data cloud as a system to, to increase their revenue, ROI or MC fee. So this will, has one kind of implementation. So these 2 are the main typical implementations where someone want to start their data cloud exercise. The recommended approach would be, so this is how it works. So one with established marketing cloud solution, other one with the new marketing cloud solutions. So for the established marketing cloud solution, like if I'm already a marketing cloud customer, so there are key activities at different kind of activities and different kind of states that customer readiness is going to be opted for. One with existing and operational marketing cloud and CR mark, which have to take a look. Adding data to consolidate data, high level understanding of data cloud capabilities, because you need to more focus on the data cloud now, because this is where marketing cloud you already have. And you have to define a few potential implementation use cases that serves the purpose of what you onboarded for a data cloud. When it comes to the new marketing cloud solution, so ideally you have to start from scratch. You have to start the setup and configuration, which is addition to your mentioned deployments. And a very little knowledge of data cloud capabilities is required, because you already started a fresh things, so it requires some little knowledge of data cloud capabilities. But here you should understand high level understanding of data cloud capabilities. Here, when it comes to new marketing cloud solution, no clear understanding of implementation use cases, because people doesn't know, right? Because what kind of use cases that they would like to implement with the CDP, and they may or may not go with the same solutions. They only opt for marketing cloud solution, but they don't want CDP, right? So these kind of typical kind of variations you can see from a customer perspective. When it comes to the timelines, so if you compare with the 2 versions side by side, if you start with the quick start implementation, which is nothing but a customer which is already having an established marketing cloud, so you could deploy your data cloud in 6 weeks, and you could just use a plan for 1 week, architect for 2nd week, use 2 weeks for architects. You use a construction for 4th week, and then validating 5th week, and then you can deploy 6th week for all the data streams, and you can go live with data package and kits within 6 weeks. And for foundations, so a person is new to marketing cloud and you wanted to start with complete CDP and marketing cloud, then it'll take at least 10 weeks of time to plan the solutions and do architect for 3 weeks, construction for 2 weeks, and validating for 2 weeks, and then deploy for last week. So these are all the typical timelines which you can compare two versions of side by side. So when it comes to the action plan, so for a quick start implementation, so of a person or data cloud add on with an establishment marketing cloud account. So as I said, 6 weeks. So this 6 weeks, you can plan for project kickoff, use case discovery, data discovery, segmentation requirements, identity matching, platform training. So these are all the minimal things you have to take care for the planning, which you can adopt with the customer as well. For an architect, you have to take 2 weeks of time to finalize the use case, data assessment, profiling, segmentations, calculated insights. Then you can start working with the development team to construct the entire business use cases, to prepare data sources, platform setup, configurations, development, have to develop the clear plan, segmentations, publications, and then finally you should start with testing of validation of your system, QA testing, UAT testing, and the signups from the customer. And you can finally use a 1 week for deployment to activate the audiences, do support for 1 week, use case roadmap for the next use cases they would like to roll out. And finally, you can perform the transfer of knowledge to the customers. This is for a 6 weeks of time for a data cloud implementation, which is already a established marketing cloud account. So when it comes to the foundations, which is nothing but the proper new marketing cloud along with the data cloud, the 2 weeks plan, which is the same exactly, but it took more times you have to understand because you need to understand the complete platform introduction, use case discovery, data discovery, segmentations, reporting and KPI requirements. And for marketing, it takes 3 weeks because you have to do a blueprint, you have to do the digital assessment and profiling, you have to do the activation, use cases, data governance and strategy. And for construction, you can prepare the data sources. So you do a bigger amount of chunk of amount of work as compared to the existing marketing cloud org. So this gives a lot of value addition for the people who want to start the marketing cloud with data cloud, because it took 10 to 12 weeks of time to roll out the entire data cloud use cases. I would request and recommend to start with 1 or 2 use cases rather than bring all the use cases at one time. And these foundations and quick starts doesn't count with 10 use cases, 20 use cases. It starts with 2 or 1 use cases as an MVP, most viable product. And after that, once it's success, I think it'll take short amount of time or the short span of time to roll out the rest of the use cases, right? When it comes to the team structure, so ideally from a team with the 5 to 6 weeks of foundations or the quick start, jump start, so it'll take 400 hours as per my experience. So the person who has a project managers, business architects, solution architects, data architect, advanced developers, QA specialists and training specialists. So these are all the folks who requires to utilize from a utilization perspective. So for each and every week, I would have a plan of action, which how much percentage is required from a project manager perspective in order to align with the team to complete his or him own activities. So all these are the personas, so the developers, so the team structure and the utilization of team from each and every area where how much of percentages that they need to spend on, right? From a 8 to 10 weeks of implementation. So ideally, I can say 10 to 12 weeks of implementation. So it'll take a 752,000 hours for complete construction of your marketing cloud, along with at least your 4 to 6 weeks will at least will take a IP warm up for marketing cloud, right? For parallel, you have data cloud team who will be engaging and then starting working on the respective data segmentation, unification, and validating and building all the insights, calculated insights, and your finally activations if required and build some sort of KPIs. So all a whole 10 weeks of time for a bunch of team members, architects, managers, and QA specialists, which comes with planning architectures, constructions, validating your deployment. So these are all the resource and utilization from a foundations implementation team perspective. A person who doesn't have a data cloud and a marketing cloud. So 10 to 12 weeks is the maximum time which you can spend on to roll out quickly for 1 or 2 use cases, not for everything, right? So the recommended scope, what I would believe, which are included in the quick start implementation. So when you start with a quick start for 6 to 8 weeks of implementation. So most important thing, as we already talked about it, what is the project governance and the use case discovery, which are required to be executed. Program execution, number 1, use case prioritization. As I told, customer comes up with 20, but make sure just manage 1 or 2 because you really don't know how the system behaves for initially. I would always believe when working with systems called Data Cloud, Marketing Cloud, I always go with 1 or 2 use cases. Once it success and understands everyone what are the capabilities, then it's very easy for rollout the rest of the use cases. So we have project governance and use case discovery. We have solution setup and configuration, activation, training, and roadmap. So these are all the things which a quick start can implement. It can design up to 3 calculated insights, 3 identity matching tools, up to 3 audience segments. So they could just design the cloud information model, object and mapping. CIM is nothing but the data cloud owns data model. That's we're calling as CIM. It's nothing but a cloud information data model. The internal data cloud objects are nothing but cloud information model. So these are all the essentials required from an implementation perspective for a quick start. And from a foundations perspective, you should do a little more in-depth qualification when we start the foundations, because it's the foundations. You have to do a lot more discovery. You have to do a lot more understanding on the depth of the systems for both the platforms, Marketing Cloud and a Data Cloud. And when it comes to solution setup and configuration, I believe the same is common. It doesn't have much difference between foundations versus quick start. From an activation, training, and roadmap perspective, so it's more training required from both the systems perspective. So usually I believe there are different teams who engage and then do a proper setup, proper trainings altogether. So that's which are included from a quick start and the foundation implementation. What we do in terms of governance, discovery, setup, configuration, activation, training, and a roadmap, right? Once again, I'm highlighting, don't go with 20 use cases, just go with 1 or 2 use cases, all right? That is what we're calling foundations and quick start, because use cases are not the important thing. The foundations you build, the data model architecture, everything you build is most important. And the people who understand the platform is really important. And I would recommend one more activity when you start doing a project with any customer, just to share some trailhead modules with the customer to understand more. Just to share some trial mixes, create one trial mix with the different kind of modules and then share with the customer, so that he'll let them go through what the systems works and how the system look like, what are all the acronyms and what are all the synonyms is going happening for it, and what are all the areas which they need to concentrate, so that they'll understand better when you talk to them, or you understand better when they talk to you, right? It's always a good practice, because I always do the same thing for my customers to recommend some trial mixes, so that when they have time, they'll go through and then they'll potentially talk with the same common terms, right? So that's all we have for implementation overview. So if any questions, I'll happy to help you out. If not, I'll jump into architecture. I'll take a sip of water before I jump into architecture, because this is where it's very important for today's session. You will understand the depth of the high-level systems are putting together with a great data cloud elements, right? Before I jump into architecture, right? So let me showcase the customer data platform, the data cloud, how it looks like, right? So, so this is our data cloud, customer data cloud. If you look at this is just I'm telling you once again, this customer data cloud is built on a core platform, the pure core, all right? That's where you see the same screens like Salesforce, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, because the Salesforce, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud is built on the Force.com platform, the core platform. That's why this entire data cloud is built on the same core platform itself. Don't amaze saying that it has a different URL, different anything. It has a proper, the same thing, like you just use the same login.salesforce.com or use the same test.salesforce.com for a sandbox of data cloud. For a production, you can use a login.salesforce.com. Simple, right? So once you logging into your customer data cloud, so you can see your data streams, data lake objects, your data model, the one which I've told you, right? The CIM, that the information model, the customer, and there's a data model for data cloud. We have identity resolution, the rule sets, the one which I'm talking about, the calculate insights. You can design a lot more insights for calculating your ACV, calculating your loyalty for customers, data actions, the segmentations, and an activations and all the stuff. And you have your data streams. The data streams are the one who brings the data into the platform. for different kind of resources. So ideally, we do have different kind of data streams here. If you look at, we have data stream called S3, Amazon S3, S3, where we can bring the data into from S3 location. We could use Marketing Cloud to bring the engagement data from Marketing Cloud to Data Cloud. You can bring the Salesforce, Sales Cloud, CRM Cloud, Loyalty Cloud data into Data Cloud. You could just bring the mobile app events, website events into Data Cloud using SDKs, which you can explain further how it works. You can bring MuleSoft. You can connect MuleSoft as well to bring the data into Data Cloud. So there are some App Exchange partners who leveraging or building a lot of Data Cloud App Exchange packages, where you can leverage this install Data Kitchen packages, where you could install those third-party App Exchange packets. And if any one of your colleague has been implemented some activation targets or identity resolution rule sets or any calculated insights, you could use this packaging and data kits, where you could install the respective data kit URL from different sandbox, and then you could deploy it to your org as well. So this is a high-level data stream, how it defines. So when it comes to your data model, your data lake objects, so you have a different kind of data lake objects, which once the data stream has been connected, it automatically moves your data lake objects. So for each and every data stream, you have a data lake object, which is designed for a model of, you can see your API names, the Salesforce API names that is coming from your sales service flow system. And once that is done, so you do a review mapping. So this is what we're calling as a CAM, the information model, customer information model, which you can map the source objects to your CAM objects. So they're all the source data which I'm getting from Marketing Cloud, and these are all my internal data cloud objects. So my next session, I'm talking about a depth of data cloud, how it works, and what kind of database objects of CDP, and how we can design different data lake objects, different data source objects, and different data model objects, essentially calling as. So next session, I'm definitely going to explain all this, but the process is initially you have like data source objects, which calling as a DS source. So once this has been loading in the system, it will be immediately moving into DLOs, data lake objects. Once this is done, it will go to the DMOs, data model objects. So this DMOs can use for building a lot of use cases. So you could use DMOs for calculated insights. You could use DMOs for your identity resolution rule sets. You could use DMOs for activation as well. Your activations, which is nothing but you can send the same data to Marketing Cloud as this data model object. This is what the entire process of data modeling works. But I'm gonna talk about all this in depth in the next session. We have a next session which is on next Tuesday. I'm going to talk about a very detailed data model structure and everything. So that really impresses you a lot, how this entire structure, you really see a depth of this, because when you look at this entire modeling is concept of two best out of the breed, one with metadata model, plus you have your data lake model. So this and this combination of this will gives you the complete balancing towards your entire model, because this entire system has been built on the core. You require your metadata architecture, and with the mutual understanding, you have to use a data lake model. But this is your metadata model coming from different source systems. This is your data lake model. We'll talk more on our next session, which gives a lot of impact and impression how it works. Right. Let's go to our architecture. So whenever you believe that, so the trillions of data will, moving into data cloud, have you ever wondered how this data, how the entire, because if you look at different data streams, right, the data coming from S3, data coming from Marketing Cloud, data coming from, B2C Commerce Cloud, Loyalty Cloud, Service Cloud, or third-party systems, or even MuleSoft, or data coming from website events, mobile events. So did you ever imagine how a simple system called Salesforce who runs the bad jobs, because see, everything is not a real time, because when you look at a minimum of 1 hour job, because these are all the jobs, because this huge number of data, like millions of trillions of data, which is coming from different systems, different source of systems, and this data stream will feed the data into your total records. It will display a total number of source records coming from different source systems. Have you ever imagined that what is the secret behind the systems to build the trillions of records, how this entire operations has been processing, how this entire system of record has been designing, how the data stream will go to the data model, and the data model goes to the identity resolution. This identity resolution runs again with the different rule sets, and how the calculated insights will help you out to run the entire information. And finally, how you're activating the targets, how you can send the plenty of records back to the marketing cloud. Have you ever imagined how much strength of the backend processes are say taking care when it comes to architecture or designing this entire data cloud system? Now we're going to talk about the best of breed architecture, how the data cloud has been evaluated with putting a lot of enterprise brains together to become a sophisticated system that serves for the purpose of that serves for the purpose of your data warehouse or data lake architecture, and which serves for the purpose of your building different KPIs for the marketers to increase the loyalty, increase their KCVs, KPVs, and all this stuff. And it not only defines for the marketers, it defines for different data specialists, different data warehouse teams, different data, the data specialists who leveraging this platform to make more wonders, to create a more customer centric kind of a thing for a better customer experience. Now you'll understand. Now we'll talk about our best out of architecture. Well, I am a person who, initially talking about different aspects of, okay, I was putting on my brain together saying that, hey, my God, how this data will be coming into different sources of systems into data cloud, and how data cloud is so easy to manage all this using a simple Salesforce screen, simple Salesforce platform, which is built on the core. So always the companies cannot deliver growth without a unified profile, right? Because you have plenty of clumsy data sitting in different systems where you can't able to produce a better results. Because if I'm a person who I'm getting 10 emails in the same system, I fed up and I'm going to unsubscribe this, because I usually does that, right? For a C-suite customers, how a customer, what I think in a proper way as a chief operating officer or a chief marketing officer. So I always think that how I can build a customer experience that are personalized, that builds trust and ultimately drives my growth in the era of increasing government regulations. Because this tool is not only for bringing your unified profile or not only for bringing your trust and the ultimate drives, but again, this data cloud is a tool for comes with a lot of different government regulations, because it's ideally every tool comes with different regulations, but this cloud which comes and satisfies or complies with complete government regulations, which is zero data privacy, very well designed systems. And this gives a lot of maturity from a platform perspective to design a sophisticated systems together to put a brains and then giving us a complete seamless experience. So when I look at siloed customer data, I have different business units. I have different products and brands I'm working with. I have a different regions who I'm working with. I have 70 countries I'm working with, 140 regions, and I have different products and brands who are sitting together. I have different websites, mobile apps. I have plenty of my business units. All right. So my service team sits somewhere, commercial teams are talking somewhere, commerce teams are sitting somewhere, and then they're producing some sort of KPIs. So they're all like different siloed architecture. So I'm not able to collect all the data together, and then I'm gonna design my single source of truth. So in order to overcome all the hurdles, so the company called Salesforce, who comes with their tool called Data Cloud, which is building an enterprise integrated tool, where they always believe that everything is hard in terms of putting different systems on siloed, but when it comes to all the systems together to build a complete canonical information model, you have different data varieties. You have a data sitting in Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, Commerce Cloud, MuleSoft, web events, mobile events, and you have MuleSoft as the integration led activity API layer, which comes and connecting with different systems with your source systems. So always believes that data has a variety which comes with different sources of systems. So the source of the systems which you're connecting for the source systems in are different ways. One with events, platform events, which supports you for the change data capture kind of a solutions. And it comes with your batch ingestion with the billions of seconds. And the data veracity comes with your identity resolution and unification, which comes with governance policies, regulations, compliance, and the volumes of billions of profiles, billions of data. You see, when you look at the silos, data, systems, ingestions, veracities. So when you look at block by block, you always am saying that, hey, this many systems, this many billions of records, this many data of systems, and thousands of jobs, producing a value of analyzing how I can analyze the data value, how I could engage my customers with personalization, how to advertise using the same personalization customers to advertise, send some social accounts, connecting with social accounts, and then how I can target my different customers with different kind of ads and campaigns. So when it comes to an application platform altogether, how you can develop a solution in a core platform, how I can learn my system, what is the number of learning curves that what I have to understand all these different veracities. So how I can exchange my information to other people who gain the same information to me to implement my methodologies and the complete the principles of underlying solutions. When you're building this integrated experience, so you look at the block by block, it's all like silos now. So when it comes together with the best out of solution, so Data Cloud is clicks, not a code. So it's purely a user-friendly mapping, which can do a pure drag and drop, user-friendly data ingestion and transformation platform. And you could bring all your data, different variations with batch, streaming, and API. And you could standardize out of the box extensible cloud information model, which gives you a lot of beneficial for your analytics team, marketers, as well as your data warehouse teams as well. So when you look at on a high level, when you look at this B2C Commerce Cloud, the orders and checkouts from Marketing Cloud, emails, SMS, push, data extensions, and all these systems are coming with a batch ingestion model, and you could map one-on-one with canonical models, which is nothing but CIM, the internal architecture of Data Cloud, the object model, canonical models and relationships, which we are talking about in the next session. And when you look at your MuleSoft and external data lake, so all the systems, and along with AWS S3, which you can connect with the ingestion of batch. And there are some events where the other customers, other companies are really interested to build some sort of third-party app exchange packages, which they would like to ingest into Data Cloud, which through your streaming ingestion, you can leverage batch REST APIs. And there are web SDK beacons, which you can use streaming events again, and mobile SDK streaming events. So all these systems comes with the streaming events architecture, and the core systems comes with your batch ingestion architecture. So this is how the entire variety of data and the velocity, which comes to bring together the data mapping inside your Data Cloud. Now we can talk about. Now here we talked about the data stream, how different kind of systems with the different kind of data streams coming to build a data model. Now here we talk about a declarative identity. Once the data model has been came, what we do next? We got a data model. Now what we do using that data model, what we do is we're going to design an identity resolution and reconciliation rules. You got the data. Now let's do the wonder. Now let's find out trillions of records. Out of trillions of records, what you do? You design some identity rule set, fuzzy rules, match rules. You design a lot of reconciliation rules, and then you could just break the barriers into different chunks of data for your marketers. So when you see the best possible ways and the best practices of Data Cloud, the Commerce Cloud, ideally, you always leverage a consumer ID, the customer ID, Marketing Cloud subscriber key, from Sales Service Cloud contact ID, from a MuleSoft, it's external ID, S3 location for user-defined ID, and your web events and mobile events, it's all anonymous ID and known ID. Because from people who are browsing or landing into your websites or landing into your mobile apps or anything that you really don't know who the person is, he's always anonymous ID. Or sometimes when he registers or logging into the platform, the person is a known ID, right? So you have different kind of IDs, right? And now you bring all the data from 7 to 8 systems. You have different 7 to 8 different kind of IDs. But of course, there's a common parameter for sure. That's where the architects will take care. What is a common parameter across these systems to build a best relation? Otherwise, it's impossible. you have to be one-to-one system. There is one common parameter is required in order to build a system of unification. Now, using these IDs, you use your identity resolution rule set, which you can define and then build the source of truth record, right? That's what this declarative identity resolution and the reconciliation rules typically works with clicks, not code. Now, once you done your identification rules, now the part is segmentation. Out of fuzzy data and all the stuff, 100 billion records, you got some 50 billion records, which comes with your good data and the great data. You all get like unified data. Now you segmentize that data. So in the segmentized data, you always believe that, so what exactly the system is going to do it. So when you look at this systems, right, ideally, so the ingestion of the system with the batch and the streaming events will go to your design your data model. And this data model, once you run the identity resolution rule set, this will go into your segmentation. Segmentation plays a huge role because it will take some time because it runs with the batch processing again, because it has to go back and then whatever the rules that you define in the segmentation. So what it does is the whole lot of work that will be taken using a big data. The real truth behind all this segmentation is the big data process, because you'll be aware of the Spark, Hive, and Pesto. So these are all the complete high-level distributed processing systems for the big data workloads. So what it does is it has been deployed because this Spark element, the big data Spark systems, has been deployed for every type of big data that you can use for the data patterns, and you could provide the real-time insights as well. So with this solution, if you look at this big data, so this processes will take a large amount of chunks of data, and then what it does is it will just runs your complete model into a different segmentations. That gives a lot of, because for trillions of records, it doesn't use your own local systems. You have to run with the big data process, which is going to be putting on AWS. I'm going to come to that stage. So this is what the high-level segmentation and visualization data works with big data processing. Because in the backend, you feel always like it's a plain Salesforce screen, but it's not. In the backend, it always does a lot of big data processing operations, which is using by the Spark and Presto technologies. So before I jumping into dig deep into the architecture, so you should understand some of the AWS services, because the data cloud, which is completely almost 60-70% of data cloud, which is designed and hosting on the AWS services. For each and every service inside your data cloud, coming from source, data streams, identity resolutions, segmentations, activations, all the 4 elements are based upon different kind of computations. In AWS, some of the systems here, EC2, and you can use some Elastic Beanstalk, Lambda services, and use a storage content delivery service, S3, and you could use your databases, RDS, DynamoDB. So there are different kind of networking, VPC, virtual private cloud. So all these clouds have been leveraging inside your data cloud, but really don't know what's happening exactly. But the real truth is, what we are, as I said, 70% of services has been leveraging your backend data services are leveraging. The one which you're talking about, the core platform, is simply 2 to 3 services. In your core platform, you can look at your packaging and data kits. Like, packaging and data kits are nothing but when you're trying to deploy your solution from, you have your change sets, right? Why you do use change sets? You use change sets for deploying your metadata components from one org to another org, from sandbox to developer, a sandbox to production, right? So the same way, or a sandbox to sandbox. For the same way, for CDP, you have a concept of packaging and data kits, which is designed using core platforms, Salesforce core platforms. You have to use only those packaging data kits functionality to deploy your changes of your data cloud from sandbox to production or sandbox to sandbox. The entire metadata of a Salesforce, look at the screens of home segment inside. These are all the R model, R data model, Salesforce data model. The complete metadata is Salesforce. The one which you're seeing in the screens, all these are Salesforce core platform structure. The 30% of that, what you're seeing, the screens and everything is Salesforce core platform itself. These are our internal user experience. These are all our internal dev experience, learning platforms, ISV experience. These are all our internal Salesforce core platforms. But when it comes to doing a backend stuff, you usually believe, like in Salesforce, what are all the backend things that we do? We always do the events. We always return epics for controlling logics. We always written some sort of APIs for connecting with third-party systems. Again, we use our Apex for REST API services, right? So these are all our controller logic, our backend services, right? But when it comes to core data cloud, it's completely different. CDP backend data services leveraging AWS services. So if you look at data ingestion, segmentation, activation, real-time profiles, unification, all this data scaling, compute scaling, computations scaling, cost controls, the monitoring, everything has been done by AWS services. If you look at this, the process for restricted, or if you see some bad jobs are running on, it'll take some time, it'll give you some time of activation, it'll give you some time of getting you the results and all, because in data cloud, minimum of every source systems to run the data feeding into system, or it will update the data from source systems, all at least take a 1 hour, a minimum of 1 hour to, you can set up a time intervals as well. But for every source systems, you always a best practice to keep it as a 1 hour. Otherwise, it should be a mess for everywhere. Now, when it comes to the services who are hosting where, ideally, so what kind of services that you're hosting? So what is Falcon instance? Falcon instance is a instance which we defined for AWS services. So some of the services where we are leveraging on top of the Falcon instance is an AWS service, which you look at CDP has been completely hosting under Falcon instance, which comes with the complete government regulations of zero data copy policy, which comes with the trust, build, delivery, monitoring metrics, and every vendor service that what we have for data cloud, which is hosting on Falcon instance. So that's what we're calling the foundation instances, the foundation services. So when it comes to extending our Salesforce core platform, the number one, the marketing users metadata. The one what you're seeing in data cloud is a metadata. The screen, structure, model, everything is metadata. The pure metadata, all right, with the combination of data lake. So that's the persona that we're talking about. The second number one, we should limit the number of entities, because data cloud needs thousands of entities, thousands of columns in each entity, right? Always believes that column takes the space of your data services, which is running on the backend. Always believes and make sure don't leverage multiple columns or more than 100 columns. I won't recommend 100 also. I would stick to keep 10 to 15, because that's what I required from my source systems. I don't want everything to be done and then designed for my calculated insights. I just need 10 to 15, that's it. So don't use thousands of hundreds of entities or the columns for each entity or each object. Coming to consistency, we always have a state machine management across core. The core comes with your state machine management, which is nothing but the key competencies of our own data cloud, our own core clouds, which is nothing but data cloud, marketing cloud, data lake architecture and all. And you could use your off-core data in core, business models, consumption billing with core licensing, high volume data and operations, because the billions of rows will be feeding into data cloud with the fast ingestion and segmentation. You should understand how the HVD and operations have been taken care. From org lifecycle, you have provisioning, edition, sandboxes, soft deployments, movements, and from automations, you have your UX code-based automation spanning core, and Falcon instance is always there for us, which do all the job. All the data processing is not done in Salesforce core. All the data processing is done in Falcon instance, which is nothing but AWS. Now let's talk about our cloud services deployed in AWS. So these are all the cloud services for a data cloud, which is deployed on AWS. When starting with virtual private network, the virtual private cloud is an AWS cloud, which is virtually deployed on top of AWS, where it can serve the purpose of all our sophisticated services sitting in data cloud. So we have a load balancer, the AWS load balancer, who takes about all the load from an ingestion perspective. They have different microservices, which is running inside your Elastic Kubernetes services, because Elastic Kubernetes services are the main source engines who does the job for us for running and the operations and processing, because they are the key competitors for processing servers and everything. Because those Kubernetes, the Geos Kubernetes are the one which does the data processing, and you can use for deployment, you could use for everything. Those are all the services who does it. For each and every EKS services, Elastic Kubernetes services, there is an underlying structure of your information access management, the login process of S3, because when you're connecting with any system in the backend, the IAM keys will be automatically encrypted with the policy of government regulations. So with all these services, you have your RDS, DynamoDB, Elastic Cache, S3 locations, EMR, simple queue service, CloudWatch. So all these are all the different services which are working with Data Cloud in the backend. And from a foundation services, you have your another virtual private cloud, which is designed for your own organization, which comes with your monitoring, security, deployments, artifacts, and DNS services as well. So sometimes people comes with, because these are all the CSOC, people will take a look very deep into it. So this is a complete cloud services, which is deployed on AWS for a data cloud. Now you talk about our data cloud services, your ingestion, harmonizing, dissolving, and analyzing and engaging. So these are all the 4 key competencies for us. When it comes to ingestion, your ingestion of data into CDP, nothing but data cloud, that provides a backend infrastructure along with the queuing mechanism, and harmonizing, designing data model, schema extensibility, storage formats, resolving your identity resolutions, data lineage, and the calculated insights. Your analyze for data volumes and value for query processing, big data processing, and low latency access as well. So while combination of all 3, right, you will see the complete architecture, how the system of core data cloud has been designed. So you look at your storage of your complete data of data cloud, your records and everything was been sitting with the proper cache metadata security services with Hive Metastore, which include metadata store, SQL store, file storage, S3, hard store, which even comes with Hadoop Hive. From a storage perspective, it comes with the big data processing. So for all the processing of your data, right, in terms of your every batch jobs, your entire batch jobs are running with Spark, as I said, for Apache Spark, which is on Hadoop, the big data processing speed, which is Presto, and Airflow as well. So mostly they use Spark for many of the services. If it is down, then people will go to the Presto. And from coming to the data transformations, and along with mixing of our core Lightning enabled data tables and model mappings, our ETL transformations, our data stream entities, data model entities, data event entities. These are all the 3 entities that we can talk about in the next session on data model. And when coming to CDP processing, with all these 4 identity resolution, segmentation, KPI, and all, you have segmentation, the real-time profiles, query services, Einstein predictions, activations, and these are all the set of CDP processing rules which is running on. And as I said, right, so on top of this AWS services core, we have our core architecture, which is building a Lightning app and platform, the App Exchange, where the person can go and then install the App Exchange packages using data kits and packaging. And you could just create your own application with the core and metadata core, your main API driven custom metadata fields. So these are all some of the connectors, as you are already aware of it, like Marketing Cloud Connector, CRM Connector, third-party connector, and for control and management pipelines for data kits, they use CI/CD control management pipeline, which comes with cloud information stack inside AWS. And AWS has monitoring, alerting, DevOps services, which comes with the AWS Kubernetes, along with the simple queue service, and there's one more, CloudWatch. CloudWatch is a service in AWS who logs all the monitoring services, who monitor all the services and logs the entire services of operation. These are a whole level of architecture from a data cloud. But when it comes to how a typical architecture aligns with the backend cloud services inside Salesforce and AWS, when you look at this, the synonyms and the mapping names of data cloud versus your processes which are running in the backend. The Salesforce is common. We have our Lightning apps set up on metadata, and we have our own Tableau data visualization analytics tool. But when it comes to from here to here, we have our data connectors and ingestion, which is happening with Amazon EMR, as I said. We have our EMR Kubernetes, which is running on for large data processing operations, which is connecting as well. You have your Elastic Kubernetes services, which is a whole lot of containers. And from control and management pipeline, CloudWatch, identity and access management, auto scaling, for processing of your entire data, your segmentations and everything, prediction, activations, queries, everything can be done through your Elastic Cache, Elastic Amazon Simple Queue Service, Elastic Container Kubernetes. Kubernetes plays a huge role for every large data processing systems, irrespective of Salesforce or any other systems. When it comes to transformations, again, the Kubernetes plays a high role because it's a very high level data processing that supports for many of the services inside Salesforce and AWS. Big data processing leverages Amazon EMR, the complete modeling and every structure of big data, which use Spark as a backend. For storage, they use DynamoDB, RDS, SQ, the simple storage service. For channel activations, when you go and click on activations, right, the final thing, it again go back to the Amazon AMR and the Elastic Beanstalk, and then it just store the data into S3. From S3, we can get the pipelines directly comes to data cloud. So these are all the high level architecture from a data model and the backend services. You look at this, like, so how many services are running with single use case that what you're talking about in data cloud. There's a huge number of operations, huge number of processes are running, which comes with the high quality of services, which is running on a real time with no time delays and with no zero data privacy copies. So this is what the best architecture that what we see for when I work with different data warehouse architecture systems. But this, they're using the best architecture that leveraging Kubernetes, one of the best, what brilliant. So when it comes to ingestion, so ingestion is always you have different kind of systems, the employee facing apps, B2B, B2C, and marketing cloud, and the different connectors you have, different data services, streaming ingestion. Always for every streaming, there is a backend Kafka. Otherwise, there is no, Kafka produce a lot of, wait and see kind of a model, which gives a lot of impact with your data processing operations. It doesn't fail. And until it process success, and if it stops anywhere with some internet regulations or anything, I don't think so it never happened. But if anything happens, the Kafka will take care about your complete operation, that complete the service, the complete operation once the ingestion of the data into different systems. So once you're done, this ingestion of different source systems, which comes with different streaming services, and the intermediate storage will talk about your Spark ingestion services, the data lake, which comes with your Hive Metastore, and you have plenty of downstream consumer facing apps where you can connect with because from mobile web events you get the data, from marketing cloud Salesforce S3 you will get the data. So it's all different kind of connectors together. But imagine for 8 to 9 to 10 systems how the Spark services will help you out to manage your complete storage, the complete orchestration which comes with your transactional data, behavioral data, mutable, immutable information, different kind of refresh activities, different kind of orders, batch queries, and all this stuff. So it's all done up fabulous ingestion jobs using Spark ingestion services with Hive Metastore capabilities. So when it comes to web and mobile events, because this is what we're talking about, a marketing cloud, sales service, and B2B, B2B, B2C kind of loyalty cloud and all this stuff. When it comes to your web and mobile, the web and mobile, it's completely a different story altogether, because the clusters inside your AWS services, you have to be very careful in terms of, because this web mobile events are working with the streaming API and the streaming events, because the streaming events always works with your different kinds of beacons shared across your data centers, because sometimes the data will come for 1 hour, sometimes the data will come for another 2-3 hours, because once you see the ingestion APIs, the ingestion APIs will landing into your virtual cloud, that will broke down into different Kafka brokers, which can feed the data into Kafka, and the Kafka will serve the data from different chunks of data using Kafka services, and that will be feeding into CDP. The same thing, the CDP goes back to Kafka services to to work with the broker services, and then they'll talk to the end user as well. Because what it does is, like, so the beacons will scale the data centers, and after the Kafka brokers to quickly handle incoming streams, different kind of streaming data from different APIs. So what Spark Connector does is Spark Connector to read the data from Kafka, and then it will write the data into S3, and that entire partitions will take care for different kind of engagement events. So that's what this whole operation works with the web and mobile events in the backend. From a CRM connector, it's purely we have the question comes where they can connect multiple CRM connectors with Salesforce, and the entire application done through bulk API. So it's a complete direct integration with C2C, because this is our own metadata kind of architecture, and this all comes with our own internal stuff, CRM data, our internal GPRC services, and it completely work with always for every system of service, the delta changes will work from every connector. So this is entire model for CRM. With the time we have, so I'm just going with little quick. So in coming to harmonizing the data from we have our industry standard information model, nothing but CIM model. We have your out-of-the-box CIM models. You have your user extensible data models with 1,000+ tables. You design 10,000 plus tables, you scale up to different, if you look at 10,000 tables is wow. It supports plenty of data operations with different systems. You work with different logical views and physical tables, which designed for unified segmentations. Your CI models, activations. So it's a purpose, it serves for different harmonization purposes. So there are data varieties, as you already know, how identity resolution rule set works. So you have the system, the first system here. The data of the ingestion, as I told, will be stored under Amazon DynamoDB. So what it does is this DynamoDB database. So you can see first name, last name, email. From marketing, you see first name, last name, zip, email. So what DynamoDB does is DynamoDB and the Amazon Kubernetes systems will does. So what it does is the magic processing rules. You see the identity rules, right? All the rules will be runs under with DynamoDB as a database, which are all the data storing here. And they use this Amazon EMR solution for design the spot instance and define the unified profile for your system of record. And this data will be feeding data back to your identity tables under data model objects. So this is the backend, how the system runs, all the data sitting under DynamoDB for every source of data. And the different services inside AWS can serve the purpose of designing your platform, and then it gives the results back to your CRM screens. So this is high level match logic, how it works. This is completely technical. So how they use, if you look at when you design identity rules, what you do, you just do the fuzzy search, first name not equal to null, second name not equal to null, or first name contains so and so, or country contains so and so. You do a lot of rules, but in the backend, these are all the things it does. Because it's a multi-tenant architecture which comes with a lot of Spark metadata jobs, which comes with Kubernetes, which comes with service metadata, which comes with plenty of services. They do plenty of services, easy, right? They're completely EMR is working in the backend. And finally, the unified profiles are writing back to customer profile. There's a separate object called customer profile in DynamoDB. So you believe that this is all happening in the backend. Yeah, so this is completely a vast architecture, and the same thing, it's done a beautiful architecture which serves a perfect purpose. It never fails. Yeah, imagine it serves a 1 billion consumer profiles per tenant. It's really, what I know, it's more than what Snowflake does. So for a segmentation activation, once you've done your identification and everything, once you get your identity unified profile, now the perform segmentation activation. Now in segmentation activation, the Spark jobs creates a lot of impact here. As I said, you have your Amazon Elastic Kubernetes services, which is hosting on the Presto Spark queries. And after that, it comes with job processes. And then the data lake will take the high speed stuff to store your storage. And EMR will do a plenty of rules, because that's a processing framework. That is a processing framework who does the job for everything. There's a core logic in AWS. You see in the right-hand side, you see you design a segmentation, so all this, right? Product name, you contain shoes, grand total amount more than $100. All these things which be done by the job processing framework, which is your EMR. So you're analyzing activations and profiles and all the stuff. So you have the same your core services, which is running with the data lake architecture. And then there's all a mutual understanding between both the systems, which is perfectly aligned with what we have for compliance and policies. This is engagement activations. So the same sort of concepts, the marketing cloud, AWS services, what authentication tokens will work with CDP admin and everything. So finally, this entire lifecycle management of clusters, all this data cloud clusters, your pipelines, Kubernetes jobs, your DBC controls, your art of state events, watch logs, CloudWatch, cloud information stacks, your service cloud boundary, all the trust, everything has been done inside your AWS, which talks to your big data services, Spark and auto scaling services, CloudWatch events and all. So you look at your CDP service, you look at your S3 location, DynamoDB, and all the data will goes back to the customer of S3, because all your database tables ideally finally stores with your S3 location. That's where it's easy for data cloud to go and then fetch the data from S3. These are complete, because this entire processing of data cloud, we're calling it a job as a service, because the entire data cloud systems is running on different data streams, which is jobs. So this is completely cost-effective algorithm, which comes with your spot instance on instance fleet and quality of service, maintenance perspective, it's very easy as well. And you don't do all this, and you don't never ever talk about all this, thus everything will take care by the data cloud team, and it never fails. It always gives the right results. That's the best of architecture, that what I believe and what I see. So when it comes to the real-time access, the person asked me a question. So when funny, I think when I given a demo to one of the event, the question asked me saying that funny, when I go to the data explorer, so why, I mean, you see that how fast the data comes, like, so when I go back to my data, my system, right? If you look at any data model, I want to retrieve the data from my S3 location. Just imagine, I'm talking about some simple technical terms. When I come to the data model object, or data explorer, so I come to the data explorer. So this data explorer, again, I choose my one of the model object. My one of the model object I design is my, let's take an example of my contact point email. So within fraction of seconds, you got all the data, all this data sitting in where? Sitting in your S3 location. So the latency is very, very minimal. You can look at the slide what I'm talking about. So within milliseconds, 4 to 10 milliseconds, you can get the data that what you see here in the data explorer, because all this data coming from your data lake objects and your SQL access to real-time data. And all this data which is coming from your S3 locations, you look at, right, the query converter, which uses Amazon EMR services, and from low latency B2C APIs, all these things which works with your data cloud. That's where when you search, when you process, when you run, segmentize, define, activate, all these things will take a minimal amount of time. Just give me 1 second. Sorry. So all this time will take a minimal amount of time for producing the results back to the CDP and the data cloud. So that's that much fast it is, which is very reliable in terms of accessing the data and retrieving the data from different systems. And overall, the short summary. So we always strive to marketers to help. We always help marketers to unify their data to enable the personalized experience. So each and every system, what we see here, you look at the data cloud, you always believe that, okay, it's a simple UI screens where click, not code. It's extensibility of Salesforce platform, leveraging metadata architecture, and we use our own AWS services sitting on data cloud, which is completely the hyperscale architecture. It built for marketers by marketers. And of course, you can unleash the power of an open ecosystem where some of the companies are building some apps on top of data cloud, where you can use those apps which you can install using data packaging and kits, and that gives full of marketers personalized experience with different interactions. That's all we have for architecture, pricing, and implementation overview. I believe I'm not boring this session. I believe this session, at least you understand what are all the backend services which are running for making our lives happier, are the marketers' life happier, right? Let me see if anyone has any questions. I'll take the questions. All right. So CDP doesn't have a separate login as SFMC. No, Lakshmi. It is same login.salesforce.com, test.salesforce.com. If you have a multiple orgs, would you recommend to start with use case on just one org or try to stand more than UV? I would always recommend to have one org, have one use case. Though if you go to other org and do second use case, right? You always use a data kits and packaging. You have to deploy your use cases from your friend's org to your org. It's all more time consuming and all. I don't recommend that actually. Let's do it in the same org. Create multiple users, right? So spun up the sandbox org, and then create a multiple users, and then let the team work on the same org. Thank you. Yes, Jagriti. So you don't believe it's like plenty of things are running on. I think we should appreciate the team of enterprise architects who designed the solution, and especially leveraging Kubernetes as one of the most rapid source of systems and EMR. Plenty of things are going on. I mean, so, and you don't believe me, when I'm working with the systems, I ran some 100 data streams and more than 100 segmentations and activations. I never see a single failure. You imagine, believe me, saying that you never see single failure. So that's fast it is, because it serves the Kafka services, which works with EMR services, which works with your Spark, Hive, combination of Hadoop, combination of your AWS services that serves our jobs. All right, guys, thank you so much. I think any questions you have, and hope you understand at least the basics of what's happening in the backend. Yeah. All right. So I think in the next session, we'll talk about our data model. That's a really good session, the data model. And we can talk about how we can connect Data Cloud with Sales Service Cloud to build that, to bring the data from Sales Service Cloud to Data Cloud and build a data model. And we'll talk about how we can bring the data from B2C Commerce Cloud and how the data streams will bring the data. But ideally, we have a different sessions, how to bring the data from different source. But tomorrow, the next session, I'm talking only on the data model and the Sales Service Cloud connector, Marketing Cloud connector. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Will IRE take care of duplicate? Yes, yes, yes. It does it'll take care of, because when you comes with a different source of systems, first of all, the biggest question when you ask me in Sales and Service Cloud, you have your deduplication management. You do duplicate that there itself. If you're still allowing duplicates in your source system, means you're doing some mistakes. But imagine you've done some mistakes on source systems. All the data will comes to your data cloud solution, and then you design some identity rules and all, and that eliminates all your fuzzy and everything. But we are in enterprise systems and enterprise IT background, so I don't believe nowadays every person is taking care of their duplicates inside the source systems itself. If you haven't done, it'll come and solves your data cloud will solve your system. Data cloud will solve your problem. Yes. All right, team. Thank you. I'll stop share and the recording.